our man Crocky, Eric Crocker. What's happening, bro?
Oh man, I'm chilling. How y'all doing? Y'all staying safe out there, man? I know the weather's kind of crazy in Cali right now.
It's 4,000 degrees outside, bro. It's hot.
What was Wayne's album? 400 degrees? Yeah, that's
400 degrees.
That's what's going on out here right now. My goodness.
I think that was Juvenile. Was that Juvenile or Wayne? I think that was Juvenile.
Juvie was 400. Wayne was 500, wasn't he?
Okay. Yeah.
Or was it the Hot Boys was 500? I can't remember.
The Block is Hot. That was definitely Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we're probably going to have a long-term discussion one day about songs that just ended with like a sound. Like that's you in that big body band, huh? Like we probably need to talk about that era of hip hop at some
point. That was
point.
The best one too. That one. That's a classic.
You're listening to Deal and KC on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM KRXQ HD2 Sacramento ESPN 1320 driven by Lashers Elk Grove Dodge, always live on the free Odyssey app. Official introduction, Eric Crocker from the Locked On 49ers podcast, our unofficial 49ers analyst for this year. We were just going over power rankings for the NFL, and there are teams all over the place, but the San Francisco 49ers consistently referenced in the top 10. As we get underway this week, what do you expect from them?
Definitely. I mean, I think that's about right. You look at this roster, we just saw the top 100 players voted on by the actual players, and I don't know how much you put into that, but at the end of the day, the 49ers had 7 players on that list. So just from that standpoint, obviously they have high-level players, and then you start to look at, throughout that roster on guys that aren't even mentioned in that, like the Brandon Ayuk's, Travarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley's, guys that can, really play football, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shaair. So the 49ers really are loaded with a lot of talent. So, being in the top 10, I don't think that's something to be scoffed at or questioned at all. I think the biggest question mark, obviously, is just what you get out of the quarterback position. But they've been able to win a lot of games without having an elite caliber quarterback.
I see. That's the big elephant in the room this season is: are they going to get an improvement? Or are they going to get the same or worse from the quarterback position that they've gotten in the last couple of years? And you guys talked about it on your latest episode. I want to hear what you have to say. A lot of people think with Jimmy coming back and all this other stuff that the 49ers are worried about Trey Lance. They didn't see something in training camp, and now they're scared or they're worried about Trey Lance. Crocky, I said right now, and I said it definitively, Jimmy Garoppolo will not play this year due to performance. Okay, make no bones about it. He's not coming in because Trey Lance isn't performing. He may come in because of injury, whatever the case may be. He's not coming in due to performance at all this year. Do you think the 49ers are secretly worried about Trey Lance?
I think anytime you go into a season without a lot of information on something, you can be a little worried. Right. So that's my way of basically saying you kind of never know. I'd say they feel confident with where Trey Lance is. And obviously, would you like to have more and be more certain about where you're at? Like, sure. But we're talking about a guy who has started 2 games since, 2019 or 2020, whenever he played at North Dakota State. So a lot of inexperience going on there. But I'd say just in the sense of where the team is at and the ability that Trey Lance has, I say that the 49ers definitely are in a really good spot, even with him. So I put it closer to 10% than 100%. Like you said, like there's a 10% chance due to, Trey Lance just not being able to play. But I don't see that happening. But I give it a small chance.
Are you concerned about the offensive line and how that's going to impact Trey's development early in the season?
That's definitely something that can hurt a young quarterback, right? I talk a lot about time clocks at the cornerback position. And at the cornerback position, like if you're playing against somebody that's really fast and he beats you off the line, for the rest of that rep, your clock is sped up and all your technique goes out the window. You kind of go into survive mode. So whatever that guy gives you, you're kind of going for it. You're not able to play comfortable. But when you're at the line of scrimmage and you're patient and, you use step plays, get your hand on, like you're so comfortable and you're relaxed, when you have a bad offensive line, and guys are getting beat off the edge, that can speed up your clock a little bit. And we saw that against Texans. Now, fortunately for him, he doesn't have Jalen Moore and McKivitz starting at the tackle spots, right? So those guys are getting beat right off the snap, and that's less than ideal. But you saw the effects of it, right? Like kind of missing some reads And when I say missing reads, I mean just not getting the ball out quick enough, as quick as you need to when your guys get beat that badly. So, yeah, the offensive line, I don't expect it to be bad. You know, you got McGlinchey coming back. You got Trent Williams starting on the left side. I think they continue to kind of build that rapport inside. And even in the Texans game, it was some Sutherland guy playing center. It wasn't who your starting center, Drake Brendel, is. And I don't know how good he is, but I know he's better than this Sutherland guy. So I think the offensive line is in a cool place. I think most teams around the league would tell you that they would like to upgrade at certain spots.
Let's go to the other side of the line, the defensive line, and I think these guys are going to be bullies all year long. And the biggest bully may be number 97, Nick Bosa. It's been a lot made about what he could do this year, and I've heard people referencing the fact that last year he was phenomenal, and he was rehabbing most of the offseason, trying to get back. Now he's had this offseason to just work on his game and get better, and it wasn't rehabbing, it was improving his skills. What are you expecting from Nick Bosa? We talking, I think the discussion this morning, 20 sacks for Nick Bosa. You think he can get to that?
Man, defensive player of the year, you know, I mean, that's the caliber of season that I'm expecting from a guy like Nick Bosa. You just can't block him. And I remember, you know, watching and seeing all the clips from 49ers joint practice against the Minnesota Vikings. And they just couldn't block him. It almost looked like he started getting bored because he's going around guys too easily. And obviously, you know, week in, week out, that might not necessarily be the case, but he's going to beat up on guys. And he's at the peak of his powers right now. You talked about the offseason. Last year, he was worried about kind of rehabbing and coming into his own. And even then, he still had a tremendous year. I think this season, he's going to be even better. So 20 sacks, definitely not out of the question. You know, they're going to have to double him. And I think if they double him, that frees up guys on the other side. They have to chip block him. So, you know, I remember seeing this clip and kind of go viral. It was Larry Fitzgerald in the slot. And he goes down and he has to chip block Nick Bosa before he goes out on his route. Where, yeah, that kind of hurts Nick Bosa just in the sense of getting to the quarterback right now. But adding that extra attention to him takes away from somewhere else. So now you have a receiver just not getting into route. You have a defensive back that's more comfortable. And as long as you're solid on the back end, which right now the 49ers look to be, I think you're set up for success. So a big year out of him, but even if there a lot of attention is going to him, that frees up for other guys.
Yeah,
This is a potential top 3, 4, 5 defense in the league.
Yeah. I mean, last year they were number 3 overall defense, and that was with me and you playing at the cornerback positions for most of the year, right? And listen, maybe when I was younger, it's like, okay, yeah, you know, all right. Now, oh no, and I'm talking about me right now. Like that's what they had at cornerback. So they figured out a way to get by and still have the number 6 overall pass defense, even though it wasn't as great as the numbers said, but just in the sense of the production that they were able to put out there. This year, they look to be better on all fronts. We talked about Nick Bosa coming back this year. Healthy Eric Armstead. We'll see what happens with Javon Kinlaw, but he looks like he's ready to go to contribute, at least be a 2-down type of guy. Ebucam on the outside, Drake Jackson coming in. I mean, they're pretty loaded and they're really healthy right now. So if they can kind of keep this and just not lose too much, you're already losing Jimmy Ward. That's not ideal. But I think overall, like definitely could be a top 5, top 3 defense.
All right. Week 1 against the Bears. The Bears are terrible. I mean, their skill position guys are terrible. Their offensive line is terrible. Justin Fields, bless his heart. I like Justin Fields, but they're not giving him much of anything to work with. In a just a regular sense, the Niners should win this one by 3 scores. But it's week 1. It's on the road. The Bears are going to be, if any time throughout the season, the Bears are going to be hyped up and feeling like they can conquer the world, is going to be going into week 1. Is this a dangerous game off the rip for the 49ers based on that kind of stuff? You got a young team in Chicago who doesn't know that they're probably going to stink this year and they're going to be feeling good about themselves.
I think it can be dangerous. You kind of go back and look at week 1s by the 49ers, right? And we won't even talk about like week 1 Carolina Panthers, Kyle Shanahan's first year coaching. We'll talk about the next year where you go into Minnesota on the road with Jimmy Garoppolo starting at quarterback, where he throws 3 interceptions and you lose by 8 points, right? Weird game. The following year, you know, you look at where they started. I think they're playing Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was a close game. 49ers were able to pull it out because 2 pick sixes, one by Kelly Witherspoon, one by Richard Sherman, right? And then you kind of just keep going and looking at those week 1 games, and they've always been weird. 2020, I believe it was. The 49ers coming out off of a Super Bowl appearance. Everybody's high. They're fairly healthy. The Debo Samuel missed that game, but for the most part, it's like, oh, we're ready to go. You play the Arizona Cardinals. You're at home? Oh, you're going to dog these guys. Well, you lose. So we've seen the 49ers in that situation where it did look a little weird. You'd hope that this goes closer to what they got last year against the Lions, where I know it ended weird, but at one point, I mean, they were beating the Lions 41-17, something crazy like that, and up until the last couple minutes of the game. So can you get more of that performance? If so, then yeah. But week ones, they've been extremely weird for the 49ers. And, you talked about some of the talent or lack thereof on the Bears team, but, you got Justin Fields. He's a playmaker. Yeah. And you got a guy, Robert Quinn, on the other side who can make life miserable for quarterbacks. And, is Mike McGlinchey going to be a little rusty? If so, you might have a guy like Quinn Feast. And things like that can force turnovers and really change the dynamic of the game. So 49ers, I expect them to win. By whatever this point spread is, I'd probably add 3 to that. But week one, man, a lot of weird things can happen, especially on the road.
6.5 was what it was last time. 6.5 for the Niners.
What's your hottest 49ers take?
My oddest 49er take?
Your hottest. Like if I had to give me a hot take on the 49ers.
Oh, man. See, I'm not really like a hot takey guy. But, if we're going to go hot takes, I'd say, 49ers in the NFC Championship game again. And I know a lot of people that's not really hot takey, but I think it is for a quarterback, first year starting, NFC Championship appearance like that. To me, that's huge. And I think because they had so much success last year, you watch the game, I mean, they were at 10 points in the fourth quarter, and you expect them to win. But we look at them through the eyes of, oh, this was an NFC Championship caliber team. Yeah. They had to sneak their way into the playoffs. Like this was a team who it looked like at one point, like, oh my gosh, they're missing the playoffs because they're down 17-0 week 18 in a must-win game. Crazy. So, I think, NFC Championship, although we've seen that a lot from the 49ers lately, I think it's like 5 times over the last 10 years, right? Like something ridiculous. But I'd say even then, that's still a hot take considering the inexperience at the quarterback position.
For sure.
I think everyone tries to hedge their bet with Trey Lance. No, this team's really good. But you got that first-year quarterback.
You don't know what you don't know. Okay, week 18, a lot of people are like, oh, man, Trey Lance, he played well against Houston. Some people, oh, he was so bad first half. And it was like, okay, 10-13. Yeah, he threw a pick or whatever. It wasn't crazy. But then he played well second half. He started settling down. And there were a lot of people saying, even like Chris Sims, man, I probably would go with Trey Lance week 18 against the LA Rams. And I was like, no, the hell I'm not. And my reasoning for that was if Jimmy Garoppolo can throw a football and he looks normal like Jimmy, which I thought he did. He just looked like Jimmy, right? I would rather go in with that than an inexperienced quarterback because there's so much that they just have not been able to see, right? I mean, if I'm defensive coordinator for the LA Rams, I'm throwing everything at him. And I believe it's Raheem Morris. He's a tremendous coordinator, right? So I'm throwing everything at this young guy. And I think that's what teams are going to do this year. And everything is going to be a learning lesson. Everything he sees, how he reacts. Now, the thing that can help offset that is, well, I got Kyle Shanahan as our offensive coordinator. He's calling the plays. And he sees the field extremely well. But just in the sense of, young guy, whatever, ups and downs, there's a reason why all those guys, outside of Mac Jones, was throwing under 60%. And even Mac Jones, everybody talks about him and it's, oh, Mac Jones should have got him. Like, they lost 4 out of their last 5 games. He threw 7 interceptions in those games. He hasn't started off this season. The offseason hasn't gone well for them anywhere you read. It looked weird in the preseason. He's completing like half of his passes and throwing interceptions right to linebackers. So a lot of these young guys, man, and those are guys that have played a lot of football. They have ups and downs. So I'd expect the same from Trey. The biggest difference is Trey has a tremendous team around him to help him through those growing pains.
Yeah, thanks.
Rocky, we're looking forward to the season, man. We appreciate you so much for being with us.
All right, thanks for having me on, y'all.